we are heading to a 4:30 a.m. workout. Catch you guys on the other side where we are going to go full depth into the car. So stay tuned. After the workout, I'll see you then. Workout complete, y'all. Heading back now. We'll see you there. Well, everyone, welcome back to the channel. The first full video as like a G70. Still getting used to that name, but yeah, we're here today to go for, as I promised last video, a more full review of the Genesis back there. So we will get into that right now. So the plan is we're going to kind of go on the exterior, kind of look at some of the stuff that you might see if you're driving past it, all that fun stuff. And then we'll go on the inside and I'll show you kind of the cool little stuff that's on the inside that I've found so far after owning it for a few weeks now that I like personally, I think is cool. And then yeah, we'll take it on a drive and we'll end with that. So I feel like the first thing we should start with here is to go over the engine bay, the specs on that. So we'll get into that right now. So for the engine bay, you just open the door, pretty simple. The piece is actually all the way in the back here, down here. So you actually have to pull this up and then you'll release it just like that. So probably the most exciting part of the car, right? The engine bay, where the car gets all the power, all that fun stuff. So I have the Sport Edition, and with the Sport Edition for the 2021 Genesis G70, it comes with a 3.3 liter turbocharged V6 engine. It produces about 365 horsepower, which is a good amount. It's over double what the Malibu was. That's at about 6,000 RPMs, and then about 376 pound-feet of torque at about 1,300 RPMs. The 0 to 60 time is also pretty good as well. It's at about 4.8 seconds, which is pretty good. I mean, right in that 5-second range, and that's with all-wheel drive. If you do get the rear-wheel drive option, it's at about 4.5 seconds, which also isn't too bad. But again, the Malibu was at about 8-10 seconds in that 0 to 60, so this is obviously a big improvement. But remember, the Malibu is not made for speed. Now, the next thing exterior-wise I want to talk about is going to be the key fob and the mirrors. So the cool thing with the Genesis is that the car is going to detect when the owner's near it or the key is near it. So whenever I walk up to the car and the car is locked, like it is now with the mirrors in, the mirrors are actually going to flip out. It produces that Genesis logo underneath, which is kind of a cool touch, and I kind of like that. Obviously, it's a lot more luxury than that of the Malibu, and still something I am technically getting used to, especially because those mirrors come out right when you're in the vicinity of that. But again, another cool option that I really like. Now, another cool part with the mirrors as well is that you don't even have to press anything on the key fob itself. The key fob is pretty simple to begin with. It's just got an unlock button, a lock button, holding for the trunk to open, which I'll get into that later in the video, and then obviously just the horn. There is no remote start option on there. That is actually something that comes in the app, which is another interesting feature. But like I said, it's pretty nice that it recognizes you when you come up to it and all that, and the mirrors also go in when you go away from it. So it stays locked unless you actually press the button on the door handle, which is cool too. But I feel like another thing we have talked about with this car is the rims, the brakes, and the tires. Obviously, it's a sport and luxury car all in one. So a lot of stuff is going to be upgraded to something from a normal sedan like a Malibu. So the tires, as you see here, are the Michelin Primacy Tour tires. They're obviously made for sportier cars, gripping on the road better, tighter turns, all that fun stuff. They're not great for the winter time, which will be interesting being in Minnesota in the Midwest, but we'll get there when we need to. And then for the rims, you just have these nice sport rims. I really like them a lot. I think they're good looking. They're like a grayish kind of graphite color, and then this center cap area kind of has that carbon fiber touch to it, which is cool as well. And then finally, the brakes, which I was amazed at when I got this car, is that they come standard with Brembo brakes, which is interesting. Obviously, the front ones are huge. The back ones obviously aren't as big, but that's obviously a huge bonus. You can tell, I could tell immediately when I started driving the car just how reactive the brakes were and stuff, and how that really changes how you brake, how you drive, and stuff like that. So definitely a huge change, and the Brembo brakes are definitely a plus. So another thing that I really like about the Genesis is going to be the front grille area, which you can see here. Now, the front grille kind of has a chrome look to it. In the future, I might get something done with that because I don't hate it, but I don't love it. I think it looks pretty good in general, just with the car and how it came, but again, maybe something in the future there. But as you can see, you got this nice plastic part here. Now, before I had a Genesis, I always wondered what that was for, right? Because I saw them going down the road, I was like, what is that for? Like, it kind of looks weird. It kind of messes up the whole aesthetic of, you know, the front grille. And so I did a little research, and it's actually for the adaptive cruise control and collision warning sensors that are placed behind it. So what it does is it kind of protects them and it acts like an extra sensor for them. So it protects them against the elements and all that stuff, which is pretty cool and kind of a cool touch. And honestly, I think Genesis integrated pretty well into the car. Now, I will say, in terms of a license plate, I did take it off. Usually it's going to go right here. As you can kind of see, there's little holes there for it. Now, in the future, once I get my license plates, which are custom, by the way, that'll be coming soon, hopefully, we'll kind of see what we want to do with that. I do like the aesthetic without the plate. I feel like the plate on the front looks clunky. However, it is somewhat illegal to not have a front plate on here. I was going to put it in the dash, but we'll kind of see when that time comes. Drop your comment below if you think I should keep it on the front or keep it inside. So another thing that's kind of interesting with this car that did come with it is the insane tint on the back windows and then the rear window back here. Now, in Minnesota and most other states, it's illegal to have like under 20% tint on like your front windshield and your driver side and passenger side front windows. However, in the back, things kind of ease up a little bit. There's not as much restriction. So the previous owner of this car got really dark tint on the back. I mean, we're talking 5% probably at most. It is basically, you can't see through anything in the back, which is kind of neat, kind of something different. I don't mind it personally. You'll see when I do kind of a drive in the car later in the video, like just how dark it is sitting in there and trying to look back behind you. Like you can't see anything out of that rear window, which is kind of interesting and stuff for sure. But again, something that kind of came with it. Now, obviously the lighting doesn't do it a ton of help right now. Can't really see it too well. So another thing that I am completely fascinated with this car is the trunk and how it opens. So obviously in the Malibu, you know, everything's like manual. Click the button, push it up like that. This one, however, there's actually a a button on the key fob right here that if you hold it, it comes up for you and then it goes down by itself as well. Obviously there's a button on here too that you can use to open it. And like I said, it opens itself. It's like a hydraulic system, which is cool. Opens by itself. There's a nice button inside, closes by itself as well. Again, the trunk space, pretty decent, not too bad. Somewhat practical, I think, especially having a subwoofer in there already. But again, very cool that it comes up like that and goes down by itself. Another kind of luxury tactic that Genesis put in here. And I gotta say, still not used to it, but I definitely like it. Now, one kind of final thing I want to talk about on the exterior is the exhaust. So there's dual exhaust tubes on the Genesis. It's a nice feature. Obviously on the Malibu, it's just a single one on the left side of the car, the driver's side of the car. It came out underneath the bottom, whereas this one you have two open holes on either side that lets the exhaust out, which is a lot better looking. Obviously it actually looks like a sports car and something that can drive somewhat fast. I think in the future we might try and do an exhaust in it. It does sound pretty loud right now. Kind of giving you guys a few cold starts and things like that in previous videos, but here's another one for your liking. So now let's hop inside the Genesis, where in my opinion the interior is a huge upgrade from that of the Malibu. Obviously the Malibu is going to have a lot of your cheap GM plastic. If you saw one of my older videos, I kind of talked about that cheap kind of material in the middle console area, kind of by the shifter and stuff like that I love. This one obviously is a huge upgrade to that. It's got nice buttons. Most of them are kind of polished off with nice stainless steel looking material, which is really cool to see, and obviously a huge change for sure. Everything's pretty easy to control. Obviously you have your climate control. There's dual zone where you can sync it or keep it apart, which is nice. You have a nice shifter that has a park as a button option, so you have reverse neutral drive, and then again that parking is a button instead of an actual gear that you move the shifter in. There are drive modes on this car as well. It's a nice little dial with that too, which I kind of like as well. It's got that nice move to it, all that fun stuff. Yeah, other than that, good room. The console's a decent space underneath. Two cup holders, which have kind of that stainless steel trim and all that kind of stuff. And the screen itself is pretty nice. It's a good size. It's probably about 6 to 8 inches across, so not too big. It's actually smaller than the one in my Malibu, which was interesting to see. But again, when you're driving a car that's kind of meant for luxury and sport, don't need to be on there a whole ton. It's relatively reactive to the touch and stuff like that. Pretty easy to navigate. There's a few things I don't love about it, but I think overall it's pretty good. And the interior, like I said, a huge upgrade for sure. The engine is a start-stop button as well, which is nice to see. Obviously, most cars in this era are with that and kind of have that included. So another thing this car does have, with it being kind of sport, luxury, all that, is it does have paddle shifters. Now, as someone who came from a Malibu that obviously doesn't have paddle shifters in it, I'd hope not at least, I don't entirely have a ton of experience with that. I am learning, in the process of learning how to use those, because I do want to try this car out in manual mode and things like that. But they're, you know, obviously your nice paddle shifters, kind of gloss in that same material as the rest of the buds in the car. And like I said, I'm excited to use them definitely in the future. So another nice feature of the Genesis that I actually didn't really know a lot about until I got the car is this super nice seat stitching. So the car comes with nice bucket seats. They're really luxury looking. You can move them on the side down here, or actually right here on the insides of the seats as well. Red stitching though, and they also have hip protection as well, so you can lengthen down here, which is another cool kind of thing that they did with that. Now, these are super nice seats, like I said. They're not the most comfortable, maybe if you're a passenger or things like that, but they also do adjust. So let's say I'm in comfort mode. The sides right here will kind of unbolster a little bit, they'll open up. However, if I turn that dial right one time and I go sport mode, a little more aggressive, these bolsters on the inside actually come in a little bit to hold my back in a little closer, which is a cool kind of touch with that, and something that I know that, you know, obviously the Malibu didn't have that. Again, not a sports car, this is a lot more in that realm, but a cool little addition that I didn't see coming, but was a neat surprise. Now, when you climb back seat in the Genesis G70 Sport Edition, you're gonna notice that there's not a ton of room. They're pretty nice. It is pretty nice back here though. Obviously you have the same stitched seats as you did in the front. You got a nice cup holder in the middle here, which is kind of nice to have, obviously, for a few drinks or anything like that. You have seat back pockets as well, which is nice. 2 air vents in the back too, which do let air in, but again, they're not super big. Obviously, if you're over 6 foot, something like that. Luckily, I'm 5'10", so I'm not super big. Wasn't blessed with height, so not too bad there. But if you're over 6 foot, might be a tough time, especially getting out, as the roof does kind of come at you a little harder, and you will probably hit your head. Now, there are also heated seats back here, which is nice too. Another nice touch. Nice speakers as well on the back here, and then in the seats too, which is nice and a good touch too. So another cool thing with the Genesis is that you actually have greeting sounds when you get in the car and get out of the car. Just a nice little chime. It is something that you can control and all that in an instrument cluster to your liking as the driver of the vehicle. Personally, I was like, might as well have the car, let's use it to its full advantage. So take a listen to the greeting sound when you get in the car, and then when you get out of the car, and turn the car off. Now, another cool feature in the interior and kind of with the whole display center and technology of the car is it actually has some background noise, which is very interesting. There's things like an open air cafe, kind of like a walk by the beach, things like that. There's a lot of different options you can choose from. It is part of the media kind of section away from the radio. There's a couple that you can kind of scroll through and listen to. Take a listen to Open Air Cafe, which is probably my favorite so far. Now, the sunroof is obviously another feature that I kind of talked about last video and hinted at. Something that personally, like I said, I wanted in my next car after the Malibu. I felt like it was only right to have one. Something that I've been looking for a long time in the vehicle. This one happened to have one, which is awesome, and it's really easy to control. You just push it up top, and it comes all the way open, and like I said, I pretty much use it every day, so I can't complain at all. And one more part of this interior that I really love is just the material. I know I talked about the buttons, all that, but the material around the cabin of the car. So you're actually gonna have Alcantara all around the headliner, right here on the door sill area, up top, all throughout the car, which is super nice. Something obviously you get in more luxury cars like your BMWs, your Audis, things like that. But to have it in a South Korean Genesis is really cool and a luxury touch that I was not expecting personally, but I mean, I'll take it. way better than that cheap GM plastic. So going into the instrument cluster, which is obviously a huge part of the convenience of the car and all that fun stuff, you're gonna have things like your wiper stock on the right side, which is pretty nice. It's got some of that aluminum attached to the end of it, as well as on the left side, your lights, which are again pretty easy to use and all that. Now as for the cluster, you're gonna have your RPMs on the left side with the engine temperature. The middle is gonna be obviously your screen with the speed, stuff like that. Right side is gonna be your speed and speedometer, along with how much fuel you have left. So your fuel tank icon as well. Now, when you go into the center screen area, you're gonna find things like your compass, you're gonna find your tire pressure, you're gonna find user settings like the HUD, heads-up display, whatever you want with that. And then you're also gonna kind of find your G-force if you really wanna know that. And then obviously the fuel economy, and you can kind of flip through that menu and see the different options there. So as for drive modes, the ones that I use the most right now is comfort and sport. You have ones like custom and economy. Those are the ones I won't use as much. I think comfort gets a pretty good mileage and you can still get that speed out of it. So I've been using that one. Obviously you just turn it to the right to go to sport mode once. And then as you can see, that kind of screen pops up red to know that you're getting into that sport mode, that fast mode. And then like I said earlier, the seat does bolster you a little more. And then you simply just turn it back and it just does the same thing, right? Unbolsters the seat and then turns it back to comfort. Back to your normal settings, which again, pretty standard in most cars, but definitely cool in this one too. But yeah guys, that's kind of it for the interior and exterior of kind of the cool things that set it apart definitely from the Malibu and stuff like that. But now I think it is time for the most important and probably the most exciting part of the video, which is the test drive. So let's get it on the road. Well everybody, driving the G70 around. So there's definitely a few things I've noticed in the first couple weeks having this car. Like I said, it's definitely a lot different than that of the Malibu in good ways. Obviously there's some things that, I missed the Malibu for, which is typical after you've owned a car for as long as I did. But I think the Genesis is definitely a nice change, and definitely a car that, I'm glad I have, and yeah. Now one thing I will say, kind of like I mentioned before, it definitely has some giddy up. That turbo definitely comes in, especially since the engine is over 2 times bigger than the Malibu. The Malibu had a 1.4 liter, this is 3.3, so again, about 1.5 times as big, which is nice, a good addition to have. Gets off fast, and honestly it just cruises, and it's pretty easy to go 10 miles per hour over. In terms of handling and stuff, it's really good. Handles like a sports car, handles like a Cadillac or something. I test drove a CT5 a while back before I kind of knew exactly what I was going to do for a new car, and that was definitely one of the perks of the CT5, is that one definitely handles pretty good, just like this one does, like really nice around the corners, all that. Obviously it's got those nice brakes, and if you can hear that squeaking, yes, the brakes are a little squeaky. Not sure what that is. Might be the brake fluid, might be something to do with that, but hopefully we'll get that figured out. And yeah, because obviously those Brembos are working on this thing. And in terms of how this thing drives, it drives very smooth. I know obviously it's the summertime and kind of makes a difference, but I think overall it drives really smooth. I know I already kind of mentioned handling and stuff like that, but it's smooth around corners, and you don't really feel a lot of the bumps, which is kind of odd. I thought definitely in a sport luxury car that you would definitely feel the bumps a little more, but I haven't had too much of an issue with that yet, which is nice. And obviously, you're going to feel the normal bumps and bruises like you do any other car, but this one I think is definitely on par with the Malibu, maybe even a little better, which is nice. That means it has good suspension and stuff like that too. So now I will get a nice little 0 to 60 start for you guys in sport mode. I just have to find the right place because there are not a lot of stoplights on the route I'm taking right now. So give me a second and I will find one for you guys, because trust me, this thing is a lot faster and you will hear that V6 growl. All right, y'all, I made it to a light. We are gonna get that going for y'all. Get a little start here with the sport mode on. I will just crank this to the right. As you can see there, sport mode is initiated. It's gonna be a fun one. And of course the cement truck is in my way, so not a great pull, but hopefully you guys got to at least hear a little bit of the engine sound. Got off to a pretty good start. I know some of the stuff in the back moved around, so yeah. But yeah guys, as we head home now, that's probably gonna do it for this video. Thank you all for sticking along with this. I know this is a little longer video, but I hope you got a little use out of it. Got to see the new whip, the new G70 spotlight of the channel, so that'll be fun.
Make sure you guys comment below what else you want to see from this car, if there's anything in that regard. But otherwise, for now, like a G70 for the first full video, signing off.